Welcome, you're watching Football Today presented by Sportswing. This is your host Umar Khan और FIFA World Cup 2022 कतर आज से शुरू होने वाला है। बहुत इंतज़ार था इस दिन का, फाइनली ये दिन आ गया। आज होस्ट कतर खेलेंगे अगेंस्ट इक्वाडोर। इस मैच में क्या कुछ होगा उस पर तो बात करेंगे, बट मोर ओवर 8 ग्रुप्स में जो 32 टीम्स खेल रही हैं उनमें कौन से खिलाड़ी हैं, किन बड़े नामों के ये आखिरी वर्ल्ड कप हैं, कौन से नाम हैं जो इस वर्ल्ड कप में बहुत बड़े स्टार्स बन के सामने आएंगे और कौन सी मेजर टीम्स हैं जो इस वर्ल्ड कप में खेल ही नहीं रही। इसके साथ साथ और बहुत सी चीज़ें थ्रू आउट आपके साथ डिस्कस करेंगे इस प्रोग्राम में ऑल द वे टिल 18 दिसंबर। और ये सारी बातें करने के लिए हमारे पास एक बहुत ही यंग एनर्जेटिक पैनल मौजूद है जिनसे मैं ऑफ कोर्स आप लोगों का इंट्रोडक्शन कराने वाला हूं, और वो आपको अपने एनालिसिस से, अपनी नॉलेज से और अपनी एनर्जी के साथ थ्रू आउट द वर्ल्ड कप बहुत कुछ बताएंगे, सिखाएंगे। मैं भी कुछ ना कुछ इनसे ज़रूर सीखूंगा। सो फर्स्ट वी हैव विद अस मिस्टर तैमूर आमिर। कैसे जनाब?
बिल्कुल ठीक, आप कैसे हैं?
बिल्कुल ऑल गुड। सेकंड वी हैव विद अस मिस्टर अली रज़ा।
बिल्कुल पम्प्ड हैं।
पम्प्ड हैं, लग तो नहीं रहे पम्प्ड आप,
लेकिन really excited for today. Finally the World Cup is here, the biggest sporting event in the world. So let's see how the show goes on. Really excited to be with you all. And let's get the ball rolling.
बिल्कुल बॉल रोलिंग। वैसे तो पाकिस्तान का इनपुट ये होता था कि बॉल हमारी सियालकोट की गई हुई होती तो हमारा इंटरेस्ट होता था कि बॉल पे हमारी नज़र है। इस दफ़ा तो चलो कुछ ऐसी टीम है जिनका पाकिस्तान पे बड़ा उधार है तो हम उनको सपोर्ट कर लेंगे। थर्ड पैनल मेंबर फॉर टुडे इज मिस्टर गुल ताहिरानी। कैसे जनाब?
बिल्कुल ठीक, आप कैसे?
बचपन में मैं जब जाता था ना स्कूल तो अम्मा कहती थी क्या गुल खिला के आए हो, तो मैं बड़ा रोता था, मैंने कोई गुल नहीं खिलाया। अब भाई क्या गुल खिलाएंगे ये तो हम देखेंगे थ्रू आउट द वर्ल्ड कप। लेकिन एक चीज़ बड़ी ज़रूरी है, देखें आप जितने फुटबॉल फैंस बाहर वहाँ देख रहे हैं, हमें एक चीज़ मालूम होना बड़ा ज़रूरी है कि जी कौन सा बंदा किस क्लब को सपोर्ट करता है। उससे जी उनकी मेंटालिटी, आइडियोलॉजी और सारी चीज़ें पता लग जाती हैं। तो ये पहले दिन आप लोगों को पता करके बता देते हैं कि हमारे पैनल मेंबर्स कौन किसका सपोर्टर है। तो जनाब किसको सपोर्ट करते हैं आप?
मैं लिवरपूल का फ़ैन हूँ।
तो आपके तो बड़े बुरे हाल चल रहे हैं, वो साला भी नहीं खेल रहे क्योंकि इजिप्ट नहीं है, फिर आपके वो माने भी इंजर्ड हो गए।
माने तो नहीं है अब लिवरपूल में, लेकिन जैसा आपने कहा हमारी बड़ी लॉयल्टीज़ हैं उनके साथ। थियागो भी सिलेक्ट नहीं हुए, जो कि अजीब सी बात है, लेकिन देयर सम वेरी गुड लिवरपूल प्लेयर्स इन द कंपटीशन, सो लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड टू।
राइट, बिल्कुल। सो लिवरपूल फैन है तैमूर। अली किनको सपोर्ट करते हैं आप?
आई एम अ चेल्सी फैन और 12 चेल्सी प्लेयर्स खेल रहे हैं ये वर्ल्ड कप, तो काफ़ी अच्छी बात है, बुरी भी बात है बिकॉज मिड ऑफ द सीज़न हो रहा है, ये वापस आएंगे जनवरी में जब दोबारा स्टार्ट होगा सीज़न, ये सब इंजर्ड होंगे। वैसे ही हमारी इंजरी लिस्ट इतनी बड़ी है तो जस्ट पैनिकिंग अबाउट दैट अ लिटिल बिट, बट लेट्स सी कैसे परफॉर्म करते हैं।
आपको बहाना मिल जाएगा ना लीग ना जीतने का एक।
वो तो ऑलरेडी इतने मिले हुए हैं पिछले साल से, और कितने बहाने ढूंढने हम लोग।
राइट, गुल किसको सपोर्ट करते हैं आप?
चेल्सी एज वेल।
तो ये तो 2 on 1 हो गया भाई।
यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा बायस हो जाएगा।
लेकिन ये तो है, बस इसमें देखते हैं कि क्या कुछ होगा। बट नाउ कमिंग टू द वर्ल्ड कप, कतर में वर्ल्ड कप होने जा रहा है। सब कॉन्टिनेंट में बड़े टाइम बाद वर्ल्ड कप आ रहा है, फिर एशिया के अंदर, ख़ास तौर पे मुस्लिम कंट्री के अंदर। ये इन इट सेल्फ एक बहुत बड़ी बात थी। बहुत सी बातें सुनने को मिली, बहुत सी कोशिशें ऐसी हुई, कुव्वतें ऐसी आई जो ये वर्ल्ड कप रोक दे, बट फाइनली द वर्ल्ड कप इज़ हैपनिंग। बड़ी मेहनत हुई है इसके पीछे, पूरा एक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर सेटअप किया है कतर ने, और इतने खूबसूरत स्टेडियम बना दिए हैं। ये जो इतने स्टेडियम बना दिए हैं, ये आफ्टर द वर्ल्ड कप करेंगे क्या इसका? ली
स्टेडियम्स का एक्चुअली काफ़ी इंटरेस्टिंग सीन है। एक तो वर्ल्ड क्लास स्टेडियम्स हैं, ऐसे स्टेडियम्स जनरली बने नहीं हैं कभी। जो कैपेसिटीज़ हैं इनमें से 8 में से जो 6 हैं उनको डिसमेंटल किया जाएगा, लाइक उनकी कैपेसिटीज़ हाफ कर दी जाएंगी। जैसे जो एजुकेशन स्टेडियम है उसको यूनिवर्सिटीज़ को दे दिया जाएगा बिकॉज वो जिस सराउंडिंग में वहाँ सारी यूनिवर्सिटीज़ हैं। उसके बाद एक स्टेडियम को कम्प्लीटली डिसमेंटल कर दिया जाएगा जिनकी सीट्स वगैरह डेवलपिंग नेशंस को डोनेट कर दी जाएंगी। तो दैट्स व्हाट द प्लान है। बिकॉज अगर आपको याद हो जो रशिया में वर्ल्ड कप हुआ था, जो साउथ अफ्रीका में वर्ल्ड कप हुआ था, उसके बाद काफ़ी बात हुई थी उन ममालिक के ऊपर, फीफा के ऊपर, कि यार वो तो गोस्ट टाउन्स बन गए थे स्टेडियम्स। साउथ अफ्रीका ने इतना इन्वेस्ट किया था, वो उधर तो मतलब वीट ग्रास उगी हुई है और मतलब हाल ख़राब था। तो कतर हैज़ लेड आउट अ प्लान ऑन व्हाट टू डू आफ्टर द वर्ल्ड कप एज़ वेल, विच इज़ अ गुड थिंग। मतलब अगर दूसरी कंट्रीज़ को भी इस इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर से फ़ायदा होगा, उनको सीट्स मिलेंगी, कुछ इक्विपमेंट्स मिलेंगे, तो हो सकता है पाकिस्तान को भी कुछ मिल जाए।
अली की बात सुन के तो मुझे बड़ा अच्छा लग रहा है कि देखें विजन के साथ है, कुछ इन लोगों ने प्लानिंग की हुई है। ये पाकिस्तान में स्टेडियम होते तो यहाँ पूरे साल पर शादियाँ हो रही होती और बकरीद के टाइम पे यहाँ मंडियाँ बन जाती। लेकिन ये है कि देखें कि कितना ये देखे गिविंग बैक टू द सोसाइटी और सबका सोचते हुए कितना काम किया। सो दैट इज़ वन गुड पॉइंट, बट व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट द होल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर थिंग, ऑफ कोर्स देयर आर अ लॉट ऑफ challenges, creating all these stadiums and all. So what do you believe and how do you think this impacted the whole people around in Qatar and all the human rights violation that we're talking about?
Well, there are a lot of stories, some rumors, some factual. We've been hearing stories of all kinds of issues. There have been migrant labor and human rights issues, and there have been wage thefts. Also, there have been injuries and deaths that have been reported. So ये सब चीज़ें हैं जो कि जिनके बारे में हम सुनते आए हैं, but let's see.
क्योंकि देखिए how do you think that how much of this is the truth, because we've heard that many people lost their lives.
So we do know that Middle Eastern regions do take on a lot of our South Asian population, being our Pakistanis, our Indians, Bangladesh, and they also got a lot of people from Africa. They got people from Kenya, from Ghana especially. All migrant workers who would go make the stadiums for them, living under horrible conditions. That is factual. People know that they were living under very bad conditions. And of course, working under very, very poor conditions in the sense कि कतर में आपको पता है कि कितनी गर्मी होती है. So working under those harsh, heated conditions, it was inevitable that people would lose their lives, not just from building stadiums, but just being outside in the heat.
Indeed, and we've heard a lot of rumors as well that there were many countries who were trying to boycott this World Cup. So what was the story behind that?
I think that's just blatant hypocrisy, because a lot of Western countries were trying to boycott the World Cup. Germany raised a lot of voice, but just like the FIFA president yesterday said, if you want to look back at the history, what the Europeans have been doing for the past 3,000 years, you should be apologizing for the next 3,000 years, because you have been impacting the world in every possible way. And if you want to go deeper into it, there's a great, I would say, some words that Piers Morgan said, and I would like to quote him in here. There are approximately 7 to 8 teams in the tournament out of the 32 teams that have homosexuality as illegal in their country. So you want to kick those teams out? How will you have the World Cup now? That's a fact. The second fact is there are laws in the United States, like the abortion law, which was recently passed. That law is very uncool to the Europeans. Do you want to not play in USA? You want to kick the USA team out? Do you have the balls to do that? Then you have UK. UK waged a war in Iraq, which was another illegal war. You want to kick the UK out? You want to kick England out? You want to kick all the teams out? You can't do it. So this is just like a one-way train. It's just blatant hypocrisy, and I think it's very silly because if you look at it, who is doing it? It's the Western press. They are just trying to hype it up as like human right abuses. So bro, don't go to Middle East for holidays as well. Why do you want to go in the Dubai sun and chill out? Just go to like Europe, go to your expensive holiday. You want the same luxury, you want that life, you want the World Cup to be sabotaged, but you don't want to compromise on your own like vacations. That's just hypocrisy for me.
That's a very, very good point. But Ali was mentioning sometime before that the timing of this whole World Cup, that affects the leagues and everything. So there are a lot of things that are interconnected, and the consequences of this World Cup are placed in this particular period of time. So how do you think that this will impact the whole footballing world?
So of course, Premier League especially has such a busy Christmas schedule and such a busy winter schedule. And now that you have November completely out of the equation and you have half of December out of the equation, the backlog of games is going to be tremendous, and that's going to place a lot of pressure on to the players especially, because they are going to be playing upwards of, let's say, 70, 75 games, some of them as well if they're fit. But that will lead to a lot of injuries, and we are already seeing that now, the effects of that. There are a lot of people, or a lot of players, top players who are missing this World Cup because of injury.
And the biggest...
I would like to add to that. So if you look at a club like Arsenal, for example, you mentioned the Premier League. A club like Arsenal, which I think it's fair to say are punching above their weight as far as the season is concerned. They're competing with a team like City, which has a much deeper squad, much more resources. They're doing so well. But a lot of their players are playing this World Cup. and the season obviously has been halted in their in Qatar right now. So if they lose a major player, say someone like Gabriel Jesus, he gets injured, who's been so integral to the way they've played this season, then what happens to their title challenge? You know, so it's a little unfair that way, I feel. But I mean, every team has to deal with it, and let's see how it goes.
Having said that, many big names have already missed out on this World Cup due to injuries, and the biggest blow of them all, we got it last night. It was Karim Benzema. He is no more in this World Cup. We were hoping that he might come back in the knockout stages, but that also seems very dim chances of that as well. So how big of a blow is...
I am so disappointed with that. I am heartbroken because
We all are.
Benzema's here.
He's the best player in the world.
He's the best player in the world. He is the best striker in the world, the most consistent striker for me. Now he's not playing. France heavily relied on him carrying the team forward. They already have so many injuries, Pogba nahi hai, there's so many players not playing. Now Benzema is out. I saw the video of him getting injured. Firstly, I don't understand what the hell France is doing in the training. They've got 2 injuries in training. Now they've got their main man out in training. He picked up a thigh injury. Or I saw him coming out of the hospital, there was a clip of it, and he was limping, he was very disappointed. And they said that he might play on, but the French team had a chance till Monday, because that's when the cut-off is, to call a replacement or something. So Benzema himself voluntarily pulled out, saying, okay, I want to give someone else a chance, I don't want to sabotage the country's chances. But saying that, the country's chances are already, I think, smashed.
Basically, Benzema has become the Shaheen Shah Afridi for France in this World Cup.
I do want to add actually that we are talking about how Benzema is missing the World Cup and he's an integral part of France. But you do have substitutes there. By substitutes, I mean you have a quality...
And they've got 5 forwards.
Exactly. You have a quality striker in Mbappe. You have a quality striker in Giroud, who's been doing so well for AC Milan as well. So maybe that miss out on Benzema might not be as much as how Senegal will be missing Sadio Mane.
And we shouldn't forget that Benzema wasn't in part of the France squad that won
when
the
they
World
won
Cup.
the World Cup. Yep.
Yeah. So they have a lot of
But that
players.
brings me back to the winner's curse.
Yes.
Of course, yes.
You can't forget the winner's
It's real,
curse.
we have to talk about it.
For the last 3 World Cups, the previous winners have been out of the group stage. So in 2010, you had Germany who went out, and you had Italy who went out in the group stage. In 2014, you had Spain who went out in the group stage, and in 2018, you had Germany who went out in the group stage. So
And this time around, Italy is completely out.
Italy is completely
It
out.
won't have the Italian flavor in this World Cup. But
No more pasta.
So we're going to talk in details about each individual teams. Of course, this time around, France is not that 2018 France. You know, they are a bit weak in the midfield, a bit weak in the defense. They don't have that kind of depth this time around. We'll talk into that. But let's just talk about the groups individually. So let's just start off with the groups. First of all, we'll discuss Group A. That is Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal and Netherlands. The one team that the whole nation, Pakistan, would be backing. Because of course we owe them our final spot.
You're already wearing their colors.
Yeah, that's one reason. That's a good point.
Netherlands.
Yeah, जीवे Netherlands. So you know, we have something. वैसे तो हमारी बस एक फुटबॉल होती थी बीच में वो सियालकोट से गई हुई होती. This time around we have a team to cheer for. A genuine reason है भाई. So Group A की अगर बात करें, let's start off with Group A. So how do you look at the teams and what players are there to watch out for, and do Qatar has any chance, because we've heard that they bought their rights for this World Cup? Can they buy the World Cup? Can they become the India of football?
I think that's a very sensitive topic. But in terms of Qatar winning the World Cup or getting out of the group stage, I think it's a far-fetched idea. Just because, yes, they are current Asia champions, but I just don't believe they have the experience or the players who are playing at the top level of European leagues that they can get too far in the competition.
But they have the gold. They have the gold. You can't deny that.
In fact, I mean, I think it has to be said, if they do manage to make it out of this group somehow, then there has to be some foul play involved.
If we go back to the whole South Korea World Cup, you know, there were some things we can link, ifs and buts, but then again, let's just look at Ecuador. I think Ecuador, Senegal, Netherlands, these 3 teams, have a lot of good players to watch out for. Netherlands being unlucky, they reached finals thrice, but never won the World Cup. I still remember their star player Van Nistelrooy from Manchester United. Those were the days for Netherlands, and then Senegal reaching the semi-finals in 2002. But what is the squad situation now in the 2022 World Cup? If we start off from Qatar.
Well, with Qatar, it's basically their attack. They're heavily dependent on two players. They have two strikers by the name of Afif and Ali, who are their talismans, so to say. And they don't have a great defense to back on or bail them out in situations where you have close matches. So like Gul said, it's far fetched to see them making it out of this group. But I think they have a few goals in them, and plus, of course, it's the home country. I hope they do well, because that will really get the crowd involved. It will be good for the World Cup if they do well.
Do well. They have some goals and a lot of gold. We'll look into that in the coming days. Ecuador,
I think, is a young squad. They lost almost, I think, 6 games during the qualifiers, but that's how South American qualifiers are. They still managed to come through. Other than that, their main man is Strada. Their style of play is very simple. They like to play long balls to him. He's a big guy. He would like control the ball, score for them. But other than that, I don't think they have the depth to go through, because they may have a good game against Qatar, but if they haven't been bought out, like you quoted, if the goal hasn't reached to them as yet. But other than it, I don't really see them having a lot of chances, because the group may be a bit too tough. The Senegalese and the Dutchmen, they won't spare them easy.
Does Mane missing out open this group up a bit, in your opinion?
I think it does to some extent. It does, but Senegal still is a very, very strong team.
They have a good defense.
They have a
Koulibaly.
very strong defense. And then the other important thing is their keeper is good.
Yes.
Bendy has been out of form. Being a
Yeah.
Chelsea fan, he's been out of form. I'm not very happy with his performances, and I think Gul will agree with me. Lekin, they won't give up. They're the African champions. They were instrumental throughout the AFCON. So there's a strong chance for Senegal and Netherlands.
So all three of you are agreeing to this, that Senegal and Netherlands, you see them progressing from this group.
Definitely. The Netherlands should be finishing first with the quality they have, especially at the back. You have Van Dijk. You have good ball-playing centre-backs. And Van Gaal wants to play a 3-5-2 most likely. So you will have your Ake at the back, you'll have Van Dijk at the back. And you will most likely have your Denzel Dumfries at right wing back, who goes forward, charges forward, and of course at the top you have Depay, who might not be playing good at club level, but international level and club level is very different. These international tournaments bring out the best in some of the very lower tier players who are playing at club level. So I do see Netherlands finishing top and Senegal second.
I actually have a concern with the formation that Netherlands deploy usually. The 3-5-2, I always feel like when you play 3-5-2, there's a lot of chance to leak goals. Like Van Dijk recently, he's not been in the bestest of forms. Like, I can show you 1,000 of memes. He's been defending, it's hilarious. But he's a top player and it's the biggest stage in the world. But the formation stays a little bit of a concern for them, because I feel they can leak some goals on the flank because their fullbacks will charge forward. The defense line can be exposed, but then again, not too much to worry about in the group stages.
They have a lot of quality. I mean, they should be fine. Yeah. They have a player like De Jong in the middle, who's a brilliant midfielder. I think they have enough quality. And even Van Dijk, I mean, me being a Liverpool fan, he has been out of form, but like we've set very high standards for him, which is why he seems really out of form, but he still performs at a more than decent level. It's just not up to the mark.
Plus, this time around, Netherlands have an X factor as well. They have the prayers of 220 million people and the Kudrat ka nizam behind the Netherlands. So let's see how
I think it's important to mention that they also have been winning very consistently. They won 11 of their last games. So they have a very good record going into the World Cup, and I'm sure confidence is high.
They almost averaged 3 goals in the qualifiers per game, which is incredible.
So I hope they just, वहाँ पे सारा पेट्रोल खत्म ना हो गया हो, कुछ बचा के रखो, हो जाता ना, you perform very well in the early stages.
अब तो दुआएं उनके साथ, तो मसला ही नहीं.
Yeah, so बस वो पाकिस्तान और टीम वाला हाल ना हो जाए ना कि चलते चलते बिल्कुल इस तरह से हो जाए. But now moving on, let's go towards Group B. It's England, Iran, USA and Wales. So 1966 से हम सुन रहे हैं, it's coming home, it's coming home. The only thing that comes home is the England team itself. So वैसे देखा जाए, so England and Wales are the two most likely teams because Wales of course have the experience of Wales and some very exciting players. England of course the star-studded squad, always has been due to the Premier League and the followership of Premier League. But this time around Iran and USA is there. So Iran की तो टॉफियाँ मशहूर हैं, कोई player है इसमें नाम वाला?
प्लेयर्स हैं उनके पास अच्छे, बट यस लाइक यू सेड उनके पास उतना एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है टू कम्पीट विद दीज अदर टीम्स. I think the other teams will get the better of them. But having said that, I am really looking forward to this group. This looks like a fun group, but at the same time, it's a very politically charged group. There are a lot of rivalries in there. You have the traditional Britain rivalry with England and Wales, but there's USA and Iran, which is going to be very heated, in my opinion. Like I was just discussing with a friend the other day that I think if we offered Iran the World Cup or the chance to beat the US in the group stage, I think they'd rather beat the USA. So it's going to be fun. I think it's going to attract a lot of eyeballs.
Plus, Iran is a very spirited team. Wherever these kind of teams, minor teams, they don't have any pressure of winning. The pressure is on the other side. So they come in and they put in their efforts, and we see much major upsets coming from such matches.
I actually want to add one more thing to the Iran case. Okay, as you all would know, okay, Iran ki political situation is quite unstable right now. I think that also plays a massive part. Because either that can motivate players because they know, if we get it right, we can unify the awam and get people charged up for one thing and get rid of the political agendas that are going on, like it happened in Pakistan in the World Cup. So that is one thing, but at the same time, it's something that disturbs the player a lot. Mentally, you're not at ease. There's a lot of disruption, and the game with US, I would say, this is the group of politics, the group of that, the group of politics. So there would be a lot of hype around that. Adding on to that, USA is the youngest squad, I think, in the tournament. So
and a very exciting squad, and they'll have a say about like you. I mean, I don't think it'll be straightforward for Wales, for example, like you mentioned, to get out of this group. I think USA will definitely have a say about it.
Well, the women team of USA is very fascinating. I follow a lot of players over there, but this team is a young squad, as mentioned here by Taimur. I think they don't have that kind of a squad depth that you used to. The USA is not the same that they used to be. So are we expecting same kind of flair from these young boys?
I would say that the US is looking much better right now than they were in the past. Right now, they have a lot more players who are playing in bigger leagues. So you have your Gio Reynas who's playing at Dortmund. You have Christian Pulisic, of course, who is playing at Chelsea. Not very good right now, but that is aside from the point. But he shows up for his national team. He does always make sure that he turns up for
Serginho
those games.
Dest.
Yes, exactly. You have Serginho Dest. He plays for Milan, right wing back, great player. And you have Tyler Adams as well, anchoring the midfield. Again, can they get past Wales and Iran? It's not that likely because I feel like Wales is still at the top end. Even though Gareth Bale is not playing towards his best, towards his early 20s we're showing, but he still pulls every single Wales player and makes sure that they perform for the team as well.
So even apart from Gareth Bale, they've got many other exciting players as well. If we talk about Daniel James is there, Aaron Ramsey is there, and
they've got some quick wingers. That's their that's what they want to do. That's how they want to beat teams. Basically, they sit back, they let the other teams attack, and they have players who can hurt teams on the counter. They have Daniel James who's quick. They have Bale who's quick. They have Harry Wilson who's quick. So they want to play on the counter. And they usually turn up against England, I've noticed, in big tournaments. So I feel that will make this group very interesting.
So England is just, they are sharing borders with a lot of countries. So these teams, even in other sports, we've seen that anyone sharing borders with England, they've caused them a lot of problems in World Cups, let it be any other sport. So Wales can be a pain, but this time around, let's just look at the England team. England team has always been a class apart because they have got all the exactly.
Good point.
Now I'm coming to that point as well. Star-studded teams, every player is a star, but they're playing at different positions for their clubs, and they're not playing together. They're not gelled in together. So when they form a team together for the national level, for the international team, How much is that a problem? Because first of all, they're not gelled in, and then they're not used to playing and those positions that are given by the international teams.
So I think this goes for pretty much every single international team currently, that some players do take on roles that they aren't having at club level and they are taking up at international level. That is again just according to what the manager thinks, what the manager feels. For England, the main issue was that there was no sense of brotherhood between players back in the day. So your Gerrards and Lampards might not have gotten along, your Scholes wouldn't have gotten along. But right now, if you're checking Twitter or anything like that, you'll notice that there's a sense of brotherhood and a togetherness about this England squad. So I think that will take them far, but not quite to the top.
He mentioned Lampard and Gerrard, Michael Owen, David Beckham, Crouch, and the list goes on. Star-studded teams. But they never performed to that level. Because one point, I'll agree to that fact, that this Premier League rivalry comes into the play. You know, someone's playing for Chelsea, someone's playing for United, someone's playing for Liverpool. So when they play together, they don't feel that brotherhood.
Yeah, I remember Rio Ferdinand mentioning once that when they used to go for England training, they would sit on different tables. The United team would sit on a different table, Liverpool would sit on a different table, Chelsea would sit on a different table. That's not how it should be. They had world-class players. But yes, I agree with Gul when he says that they never quite wanted that way.
Their golden generation in the 2010 World Cup would have done a little better hadn't it been the famous Frank Lampard incident where the goal wasn't given when it was like inside the line. Agar us waqt VAR hota, the story would have been different. We could have been saying much different things about the England.
तो मैराडोना का हैंड ऑफ गॉड पे होता तो आज वो इतने बड़े लेजेंड भी नहीं होते.
वो तो if you go back, the World Cup that I think England won was also not a legal goal, by the way.
Yeah. So I think that was just karma playing its role.
Yeah. But on the flip side, जो Gareth Southgate है, he is an interesting manager. I'm not a big fan of him because I feel he is very negative. He's very conservative in his approach. But when he took over, England were like an all-time low, an early exit from the World Cup. I think they lost to Iceland as well. They weren't doing that well. So he gelled in the team. He got the young boys, got rid of the old guard, and he's done well. But I still think with the players he has and the super talent they have, they could be a little more aggressive. And let's just see how they go forward in the World Cup. The interesting thing is, I think the last game they play in this group would be with Wales. And Wales are playing after I think 56 or 58 years. So, and they were pretty good in the Euros as well. They were really solid. They reached the semis. They lost to Portugal. And I think Portugal went on to win it. But that would be an interesting game to look forward in this group.
Right. So
will he be sporting the famous waistcoat that we often see him wearing? You usually have like.
Oh, Southgate?
Definitely. The Southgate waistcoat.
I would be interested if he's still pulling that off in the Qatar heat. Let's just see, because we saw the video, by the way. We all saw the video. The English players were training and they were drenched in sweat.
They were struggling.
Yeah, they were really struggling. They were like running up to the fan. And
no, so that is where Germany has moved their training sessions later into the night. At least that's what they have said, and that's the time slot they've booked. So England is trying to do that as well. I don't know how successful they have been.
This makes the African teams quite comfortable.
I was about to say that
African and South American.
And South American. People from those regions who have experienced this kind of a weather might have some level of an edge. Like maybe Qatar ki team ko to hoga, but the other teams coming from Africa would have that too. The Europeans would be like.
But you need to back it up with quality. जैसे गर्मी तो पाकिस्तान में भी बहुत है, लेकिन हम अपनी टीम भेज दें तो वो ज़्यादा अच्छा नहीं करेगी, सिर्फ इस वजह से क्योंकि वहाँ पे गर्मी है. So you need to back it up with quality, obviously.
That's right. Moving on to the next group. This one is quite interesting, and you know, it's hard to choose which two will qualify. Argentina, one of the favorites for this tournament. Messi playing his last World Cup, and then we've got Mexico, some star-studded, some experienced players in Mexico, and then we've got Poland, who's got the Lewandowski factor, and then we've got Saudi Arabia as well. So, how do you see Group C?
Well, it's Argentina's to win. They're on a 36-game winning streak. The all-time record is 37, which was set by Italy not that long ago. And their next two fixtures are Saudi Arabia and Mexico. The toughest fixture for them, which is going to be Poland, we would assume, is actually their last fixture. So they could already have broken the record by then, and I do expect them to beat the record. It's all about Messi. I mean, the World Cup is set up for him to finally achieve that goal, and we're all looking forward to it. It's going to be a great spectacle, and but yeah, this group is going to be about Messi and Lewandowski. I think if we take a sample size of the last 3 years, I think they have been the two best players in the world. If we look at consistently performing week in, week out, I think they've been the two best players in the world. Lewandowski was extremely unlucky to miss out on a Ballon d'Or. I think he deserves at least one Ballon d'Or to show for his efforts. But it's going to be a good group. But these two teams should qualify. Like, I would be very surprised if they don't.
Talking about Argentina, Ali, it's not just Messi. They've got a lot of players. They've got Dybala, they've got Alvarez, they've got Angel Di Maria in his performance in the previous World Cup. So they've got a very balanced squad, unlikely as compared to other squads who've got big names, but the balance is not there. So they've got forwards, they've got a midfield, and they've got defense all together.
I think this is one of the first times we could say the Argentina squad has always been balanced, but I think this time they've gelled in well. They've always struggled with the same thing as we're talking about England. They couldn't gel in the same way, and then they banked too much on Messi, which I think would still be a thing because he's the best player in the world. People will, the entire squad would bank on him to perform, would lead the way forward, inspire the team, and he's done that in the past. He can do anything on the football field, we know that. But there would be a few interesting points to look into in terms of how Messi takes this World Cup as well. Because we know he may not be as expressive as Ronaldo. Like Abhi Taimur said, Lewandowski and Messi are the two best players in the last 3 years. If, for instance, Ronaldo hears this show, he would be really pissed about it. He wouldn't like those comments. But Messi is not that expressive with his PR and everything. But internally, I'm sure he knows this is his occasion to rise and shine and bring the glory home.
But there's this stat goal that Messi or Ronaldo, either of them, haven't scored in the knockout stages of World Cups.
Well, I did not know that stat, and that is extremely surprising. But if you also look at the current top scorer of the World Cup with current squads, that's Thomas Muller. And you wouldn't have ever expected it, but he's sitting on 10 goals, while Messi is, I believe, on 6, and Ronaldo is still on 7. And again, that just goes to show that international football is a completely different ball game. These players might be relying heavily on that one player, on your Cristiano Ronaldos and your Lionel Messis, but sometimes that's not how it works, and that will not breed results. That may do it in club football, it won't do it here in international football. Argentina's squad right now is, what we should be looking at is how counter-pressing observant they are, in the sense that they have 2 very strong defenders, 3 as well. One of them will be out at that time, but you have Christian Romero, you have Lisandro Martinez, who's been doing amazing for Manchester United right now, and you have Nicolas Otamendi, who again, great experience, world-class centre-back as well, plays for Benfica right now, but again, when you go for the international team, you are going to put your heart and soul into it. So I think a lot of these players will turn up, a lot of these players will really do all they can to get Messi his one World Cup. So I think there will be a togetherness for that.
Right.
One player I'd like to mention is Rodrigo De Paul. I think he's going to be crucial because that is the one player that they've really lacked in midfield. I won't say disadvantage, you can't have any disadvantages of having a player like Messi in the team, but at least having Messi at this stage of his career, the one drawback is that he's not a workhorse. He's going to produce magic, but he is well, it feels odd to call him a luxury player, but he is the best luxury player to have, but he is one. So he needs other players to do the running around for him, and they found a very good player in Rodrigo De Paul, who has his back all the time, does all the dirty work, and lets Messi express himself. He's going to be crucial.
Plus, in the international games of Argentina, the problem was that it was a Messi show all around for Argentina in the past years. So 3-4 guys used to mark him and he was helpless. But this time around, he has those players around him who can do the dirty work as well. So even if the attention is all on Messi, they've got some names who can just, score from the back and do the magic. And then the other teams just get surprised that, it's not just Messi we need to cover. So let's just look into that as well.
I think, sorry to cut you off, but a key player in this squad will be Lisandro Martinez.
Yes.
A lot of goals will come from him. He is my pick to finish at least third or second in top scorer list for the
You mean
entire World
Lautaro
Cup.
Martinez?
Lautaro Martinez, sorry, yes. So again, he is going to be crucial for this squad, and a lot of goals and assists will come from him.
Absolutely. So let's just look at the other teams as well. Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Poland. So let's just talk about Poland, of course, because they're the next after Argentina. So they've got some big names, not just Lewandowski, the many exciting players as well. Hard to call the second one. We were all calling that Argentina ends up at the top. But which team would be your second pick? Would it be Mexico or Poland?
It would be Poland for me, without a doubt. I think just Lewandowski on his own, he has enough service there. There are good players like young, exciting players like Zelensky and some other players who will provide him enough service to get them over the line. I think it should be pretty straightforward, this group.
Straightforward for Temur. Ali?
I would say Poland as well. Apart from Lewandowski, they've got Zelensky, and he's been on a good run. He's a young 20-year-old. थोड़ा सा एक angle है which is interesting is the coach. I think he was confirmed as a head coach in February 2022, so I'm not sure how much time he's had with the squad. They played a few games, but still the group is not too difficult for someone like Lewandowski to lead through, but it depends honestly. I feel in big tournaments sometimes Mexico comes out as a showstopper. Their keeper becomes like, you know, you'll see 1,000 memes on him. He becomes the best in the world in big tournaments. But my concern with Mexico has been it's Gerard Martino leading the management from them is that he hasn't been able to build that consistency that you need to perform at a tournament like this. If you go look at the Mexican press, every second day he's been questioned. In fact, he did a press conference recently stating that, you know, I'm committed to get to the quarterfinals. I want to support. It was kind of sad because he comes out and is asking for, you know, media to support him and his boys and not question him while they are on to their World Cup run. So, in my opinion too, Poland will make it, but Mexico can deliver a shocker. So, as we go forward, we'll see maybe after the first games of the group ke kya hota hai.
Okay, 2 votes for Poland. You want to say something?
I have similar concerns. They have some good players, like you mentioned. Mexico have it in them to cause an upset. They have a striker like Raúl Jiménez, who's an experienced Premier League striker. They have Ochoa as their keeper, who's almost a World Cup specialist. So they have players like that, but like he mentioned, it's about them gelling together. That's just not been.
Absolutely. So 2 votes for Poland. Mexico or Poland?
I would go for Mexico. I want Saudi Arabia because of our Muslim brothers over there, but I feel like Mexico will make it over the line from Poland. Why? Because I feel like, yes, Lewandowski is, of course, he is my favorite player of all time, but can he drag Poland across and over the line? I don't think so. Just because, yes, you might have some quality here and there in and around the team, but relying solely on Lewandowski alone will not breed results. Even in their 2018 campaign in their World Cup in Russia, they got out at the group stage and they were quite humiliated actually. They did not win a single game. They won against Japan, but then their Colombia and Senegal matches were losses, so they were out of the World Cup.
Right, so what matters in this group is what Mexico and Poland game gives the result. That would be a crucial one, and just in case if either of these teams get a draw against Argentina, that would give them a big edge. So
I think एक edge Mexico की ये है कि the climate.
Like we're Saudi Arabia support kara. I think he wants some more aid from MBS coming to the country.
That's good enough for Group C. Argentina and a tough fight between Poland and Mexico. We've got 2 votes for Poland, 1 vote for Mexico. Let's see what happens. Moving to Group D. So now, defending champions France. Then we've got Denmark, the 2 teams likely to qualify from this group. And then we've got Australia and Tunisia. Australia, no matter what sport they play, they are a fighter team. They have that killer instinct, that fighting spirit that they bring into play. So although they don't have much big names, but the fight is there. So, you know, we might expect something around happening in the Denmark-Australia game.
I mean, I think that's the best we can say for them. The weather will also suit them. They're used to playing in Asia, so it won't be that much of a change for them. But apart from that, I think the 2 big teams in the group they'll be hard to stop. I think they should go through.
Right, so we were discussing France. France is not the same France as compared to 2018. They've got some flaws in their midfield, some lows in their defense. They do not like that kind of fire force. And then Benzema is out now as well. So, what are the chances of France this time around for defending the title, and then the curse of the champions that's also there?
So I would look at it from a very emotional lens, and I will look at it from the perspective of the winner's curse. And I'll be like, they're not going forward. There would be a shocker. There would be an upset. I still feel the midfield will leak goals. They will miss Kante. For me, Kante is one of the most instrumental midfielders of the last decade. They don't even have Pogba. Pogba and Kante were really good in the previous World Cup together. Now Benzema is not there. On paper, a lot of players, they have a very pragmatic style of management, a very attacking management. Pivot goes forward. They like to keep the ball ahead of themselves and quick flows. But I still feel that the winner's curse might get better of them. And regardless of that, the players are probably exhausted as well. With all that's happening, the Benzema thing coming in as a surprise. I'm not sure who the replacement they would be calling in, but regardless, I'm not sure the replacement will get a lot of game time because they'll probably put forward the other members who were already going to be on the bench.
I think Dembele might get a bit more game time now that Benzema is starting, because earlier I wasn't expecting him to be a part of the starting 11. But now I think he might get...
I will say that Dekho, Kante is out. But you still have Camavinga, you still have Tchouaméni. So you still have very, very good midfielders in that France squad.
For me, I would be interested in seeing how much Camavinga gets the game time. I think he was incredible when Real Madrid won the Champions League. He was one of the best players, most interesting player to watch because he kills it in the midfield.
He would just come on as a sub and
and that would add the fresh legs. But then again, can they get the better of the winner's curse?
I mean, which other team do you see going through? If not France, which one of Australia or Tunisia do you see going through?
Like Australia, the thing with Australia is they got lucky and they qualified on penalties in a win against.
But there can be one upset, but I don't see France going out. Like that would be too much.
Not in the group stage. I feel like the curse is...
I think the group is way too easy for them to go out of the group
it's
stage.
like most likely a walk in the park for France or Denmark, but then again we see a lot of upsets in the World Cup. But I just have one question in my mind, out of curiosity. With all the injuries coming around, ये इन खिलाड़ियों को कोई ग्लूको के टीके को पोलियो के कतरे पिलाएं? क्या है ये इतने इंजर्ड क्यों होते हैं भाई?
देखिए इस बार तो उनके पास वजह है इंजर होने की. टूर्नामेंट सीजन के बीच में आया है, विंटर्स में आया है. पिछले हफ्ते वो लोग अपने क्लब्स के लिए खेल रहे थे अराउंड यूरोप एंड ऑल अराउंड द वर्ल्ड, और अब वो लोग सब कतर की गर्मी में पहुंचे हुए वर्ल्ड कप खेलने के लिए. तो आई मीन दिस वाज बाउंड टू हैपन. दिस इज अ मिसहैप ऑन द पार्ट ऑफ द पीपल हु ऑर्गेनाइज द टूर्नामेंट. बट लाइक आई सेड, ये हर टीम के लिए बराबर है, हर टीम के अंदर मसाइल होंगे. बट ये दिस विल फेवर टीम्स लाइक फ्रांस who have the luxury of calling on very good alternatives rather than smaller teams like with all due respect teams like Tunisia and Australia who might not have those kind of backup options.
One stat that I would like to share is that Giroud is only 2 goals shy of Henry's France record.
Damn.
So he can
I did not know that.
equal that, or he can definitely beat that in this World Cup. However, in their 2018 campaign in Russia where they won the World Cup, Giroud is infamous for having no goals and no assists.
Even though he played almost every minute of that World Cup.
So that was the surprise, but right now
I realize what he did. He lurks at the forward, he draws the defender towards them.
And that's what gave Griezmann and Mbappe to run in.
Griezmann and Mbappe wouldn't have that freedom without Giroud. Giroud adds a lot to that team with his physical presence and insane. He's in one of his best forms of his life with what he's doing at AC Milan.
And he only scores good goals.
Great goals.
Great goals.
There are great goal scorers and then there are scorer of great goals. He is the latter and he has scored some amazing goals. Like 50 years down the line, if we show someone Messi's best goal than Giroud's best goals,
they'll be like Giroud's the better player.
They'll be like Giroud's the better player.
Look at the goals he scored for AC Milan.
Yes,
nothing short of being a showstopper.
True. Moving to Group E. Now, many of the pundits are striking off Spain, but I don't know why I'm just in love with the Spain squad. I think that I just have a gut feeling they're going to do something. So Group E is Spain, Costa Rica, Germany and Japan. The two likely teams, Spain and Germany of course. But when we look at the team like Spain, Javi, Pedri, Ansu Fati, the new boy in town, and then they've got Torres and the star-studded team. I don't know why. I just really like the Spain squad.
So great squad, young squad as well, minus your Busquets and Cesar Azpilicueta, of course, who are just always there.
But I love Cesar Azpilicueta. I'm not going to hear too much criticism on him.
He's a warrior.
Yes, of course.
And they've got Jordi Alba as well.
Yes, exactly. Again, and I feel like there is a little bit of a Barca bias since you do have
Luis
Enrique as the manager, which was surprising that we do not have any Sergio Ramos in this World Cup, which is a big blow. Especially to us watchers of football, lovers of football, we love seeing Sergio Ramos beat every single man that he sees. But again, do I see them going far in the tournament? I don't think so. I don't think they have that quality in depth. But maybe they can cause an upset or two. By an upset, I mean they could probably maybe beat Germany or maybe draw with them. But I don't see anything too holistic for the Spain squad.
So your two teams from this group.
I mean, if we have to pick two, then I would pick Spain and Germany to go through. But I'm really disappointed with one particular omission as far as Spain is concerned. I really wanted to see Thiago play the World Cup.
That's the Liverpool fan in him.
That's
the Liverpool fan.
Yes, it is. I have a bias towards him, but I think on his day he is still the best midfielder in the world. Like the way he controls games, he is an absolutely brilliant passer of the ball.
Best midfielder in the world.
He's extremely skillful. I feel, Gul, don't you agree?
I don't know.
He's very leading the squad. He knows I want to.
देखिए, Thiago बहुत अच्छा player है. He is very skillful on the ball. He takes out passes that nobody else sees on the entire pitch. But there must be some method to Luis Enrique's madness. He did amazing for his time in Barcelona. So I'm sure there's something or the other that he is plotting here.
He's gone with younger players, which you get to a certain extent, but this is the biggest stage. You need experienced players. You need players who can control games, and Thiago
and I think that is where they'll
that.
probably lose.
And they haven't gone with Ramos, for example.
Yes.
So they haven't gone with experience. Let's see.
So,
But the two teams are going to be Spain and Germany for
so
me. Yes.
we've discussed Spain. Now let's just look into Germany. Of course, they've got this legacy, 4 World Cups behind them, and in every World Cup, you see the German football there. How do you see Germany performing in this World Cup, and what are the players to watch out for?
I think Germany with Muller obviously on the charts for the top scorer. I think Manuel Neuer has the second most clean sheets. He has 7, but I think that's the second most. That's not the
third most.
The third most,
yeah.
right? Okay, so that's one thing. Other than that, Timo Werner is out. I'm not sure how much he could have added. Kai Havertz as a forward, again, maybe in a Chelsea fan is very critical of him because I do feel he just can only deliver in leagues or in positions when the physical aspect is missing. If there is an element of...
which I do feel like in international football is missing.
Yeah, but if he's probably facing Spain, then if I was Azpilicueta, that's what I would tell my team to do.
Just be physical.
Just be physical. He gets off the ball real quick with a few nudges. But I think players like Havertz do generally perform really well at these big stages. So they have a big shot with Havertz performing well for them. Other than that, the depth that Germany has is gonna really help them pull through. And there could be, in my opinion, at least a chance that Germany breezes to the semis.
So any player to watch out for in Japan or Costa Rica?
So you do have a couple, but can they do a whole lot during this tournament? I don't know. You do have the Liverpool bias Minamino coming in,
yes.
and you and you do have Kubo as well, who is a very pacey winger.
Yes.
But can they be on? Can they make it through this group with Germany and Spain? And we're not even mentioning Costa Rica yet. I don't think so. It's a very long shot.
I think
They can cause an upset, but I don't think they can go. I don't see them going through, but maybe they can give us
I feel they
a few
would
fun results.
give you like a surprising draw.
Yes.
Because
it will be a fun team because
Yes.
they are all very short, nimble players. Just
and energetic. and
that is the that is
okay, we'll
that
ignore
agility
we'll
aspect does come into this,
Yeah.
and you have seen your players like Kagawa who were breezing in the Bundesliga as well. So you can maybe see very liquid football but they won't be able to make
their
it
formation
past.
is interesting because they keep switching a lot between 4-4-2 and 4-2-3-1, and their manager, who was formerly managing in the Japanese league as well, had very good results. I think he won 3 trophies with Hiroshima out of 6 that he played. So that adds a lot to it, and the Japanese, I think, can maybe give you a surprising draw somewhere.
Plus, the Japanese, they won a lot of hearts in the previous World Cup when they cleaned the whole dressing
Yes.
room and left that note in
That
the
was
Japanese saying thank you. So they're very disciplined, and somewhere around we might see one or two upset. But then again, Spain and Germany going through.
I think shout out for Costa Rica is Keylor Navas. Again, been at the top of his game for years and years. So maybe he can pull this team together. He will be captain. Maybe he can pull this team together and get a few results out, maybe a goal or two. But I don't see more than that.
He's won quite a few Champions League titles, hasn't he?
A few.
Yeah.
So now, moving to Group F, we've got Belgium, Canada, Morocco and Croatia. So Croatia, of course, the heroics from the previous World Cup, but Morocco has some really good players to watch out for. And then, of course, Belgium, a star-studded team, but most of the players are out of form. But they're still good enough to, beat any team on their day. So how do you see the teams? Let's start off from Belgium, Ali.
Belgium has an incredible squad on paper. I think their problem goes back to the similar problem that England had before, when they had too many star players and the teams couldn't blend in. And then I was looking at a picture of Eden Hazard from the training yesterday. I was shocked at the fitness. I was genuinely very shocked. The guy is fat. He is fat. He was rated as the best player on the planet at one point in time. थोड़ी देर पहले गुल ने Kagawa की बात करी थी, so him and Kagawa were signed at the same time, and there was a lot of hype that Kagawa would be good, but he breezed through Premier League, and ever since his switch to Real Madrid, I don't know what has happened. Hazard always had troubles with his fitness, but right now, though, I don't think it's good. But KDB is the man.
Yes.
He is the man. He can turn things around like this. He would do something big for them. I genuinely think he would be very instrumental in this. Not a big fan of Lukaku again, but I think him pairing up with KDB can deliver some really interesting results.
I feel even though KDB is, everyone respects KDB now for what he's achieved with Manchester City especially, but I feel he's the kind of player who can easily finish the World Cup as the best player of the tournament. He is that good. I feel he's still underrated. People don't realize how good he is, the way he's able to create. I think I think he has enough support in that Belgium side for him to be able to express himself fully. I think he'll do well.
Right, और जो हमारी लेमैन ऑडियंस है जो फुटबॉल वर्ल्ड कप देखते हैं उनको बता दूं ये कबड्डी या एबीडी कर रहे हैं. They're talking about Kevin De Bruyne. ठीक है, तो ये हमारी आम ऑडियंस को मैं बता दूं, they're talking about Kevin De Bruyne, one of the finest players of current times. तो आप लोग परेशान ना होंगे कि क्या कबड्डी आ गई बीच में.
मैं एक चीज़ बोलूँगा कि this Belgium squad, their golden generation, this is their last chance to do something at a major tournament. After this, you may not be seeing your Eden Hazards in the Belgium squad. You may not be seeing KDB. And again, they have underperformed. I feel like in the previous tournaments, they haven't performed to what
on
the
any
expectation
international
was.
stage. On any international stage,
They
Belgium
have
are
not.
disappointed.
Yeah.
Always.
They made the semis last time around, and they were unlucky.
I still feel like they could have done better.
I mean, they dominated France.
Because
but France just wouldn't.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. They would just defend. Yeah. They dominated them. They had a lot of shots. They could easily have made them. I was supporting Belgium last time
were
around.
favorites to win the World Cup.
Yes, they went in the tournament as the number one ranked
I think
side.
right now one major aspect is their manager, Roberto Martinez.
Yes.
I don't think the guy.
I think he plays very negative.
Yeah.
Very tentative, and that throws off the entire.
It's very
Belgium
conservative
squad.
style of football. I mean, like he was Wigan's manager, and now he's leading the team.
Moving forward, so Belgium and the second team, Croatia, Morocco, Canada. Tough to pick between Morocco and Croatia.
I would say Croatia. Without a shadow of a doubt, you still have Luka Modric, who is okay, fine. He might be on the older end, but the experience, the sheer experience that he brings to the team is unlike anyone else as well. And my favorite, again, Chelsea bias coming in, but Kovacic, one of the greatest midfielders we've seen in our last few years. Very underrated in my opinion. The way he drives forward with the ball is extremely underrated.
He pairs well with Modric, by the way.
Yes,
really
and
well.
then you have even Perisic. He scored in the last World Cup final for whatever it was worth. It wasn't worth much, but he did score in the final. You have Dusan Vlahovic coming in now as well. So I think they can definitely, sorry, I did not mean Vlahovic, I mean Kramaric, but I definitely feel like they will easily breeze through the group.
ये मैं सारे एच विच सैंडविच मतलब सारे एक जैसे हैं but more or less even
I think this is going to be a very competitive group.
you can't strike off Morocco. I'm saying this today
Yeah.
on our first episode. They have got some seasoned old foxes, purana chawal कुछ हैं, and they can be a big pain for Croatia.
And they also have Ashraf Hakimi, who's their most exciting player.
Exactly.
I would give that to Ziyech, to be honest. अगर आपने देखा होगा,
Possibly.
अभी he scored from behind the halfway line, got the keeper off his line, just smacked it, and it was
He's
a
a
good
player
50,
who can
55
have
yard
like
goal.
magical moments, and in those magical moments, if he manages to score a goal or a two in a World Cup game, can completely change how the group is looking like. So yeah, Hakimi and Ziyech are the two to look into. But Canada as well is interesting,
Yes.
because you've got
They have-
Alphonso Davies and they're
Very
They have
young
David
squad
David
as
up
well.
top.
and they would be the co-host for the 2026 World Cup.
Yeah, that is another factor. So let's move on to Group G. I think after Group C, the only competitive group I see is Group G. We've got Brazil, of course, we see them topping the group. But then Serbia, Switzerland, Cameroon. Hard to pick anyone out of these three.
I think it's going to be between Serbia and Switzerland, in my opinion. I think yes, Brazil should go through. They have enough quality for them to go through. But it's going to be between Serbia and Switzerland. They both have their pros and cons. I think Switzerland have a few more, let's say, experienced players at this level. They have a few veterans. They have Granit Xhaka, who controls the midfield really well for them. He's having a great season with Arsenal. So they have Savic, who's going to be playing with them in midfield. So they have a few good players.
I think important to mention about Switzerland's last Euros run, where they did beat France. So they were 3-1 down, and then they made it 3-3 and beat France towards the end. I mean, that's a fairy tale story. And again, that's what international football brings.
Even Serbia, you guys are not talking about Serbia, they've got some very exciting players.
Yes.
But I think Mitrovic's injury is going to be a crucial
factor.
That's
yeah.
When
That's
are
a
we
big
expecting
bummer.
him to be fit?
So
By because they were
usually, at least they were saying that it was going to be after the World Cup because of his ankle. But if he makes a miraculous recovery, we don't know.
Let's see what happens. I was reading this prediction, who will make the finals. I think Eto said that Qatar and Cameroon will make the final.
Yeah, Eto, I don't
So
think
was he
it's
high or
really
something? Because,
He's clearly
उससे
not
कुछ
big
और बोलेगा drops पे.
Yeah, because I don't know, like that was really weird sort of a prediction.
so moving on to the last group.
I
of
think,
course.
sorry, if we can just touch on Brazil a bit, because
Yes.
again, they are going to be favorites for this tournament. Yes, Argentina is your favorite, you have Brazil as your second favorites, in my opinion. If the World Cup goes as it does and everyone makes it through the group how we are predicting, it's a possibility that Argentina and Brazil meet in the semi-final. So both can't make it to the final, in my opinion, but Brazil is in for a very good shout in this tournament. This is probably going to be Neymar's last run as his peak, and I am 100% sure that he will pull this team together and make sure that they do very well. They have Jesus up front. He's been spectacular for Arsenal. If he somehow manages to link up with Vinicius Jr. and Neymar, it's going to be a deadly, deadly combination.
Indeed, but Brazil haven't showed their presence in the World Cup since like 2002. They haven't been that kind of a Brazil, that humiliating loss against Germany. One can't just get off that. Neymar was there. There were big names in that.
Neymar was not there. Neymar was injured in the last
He
game.
rolled over in the previous game.
No. So
that
he
went
was
viral.
kneed in the spine, which caused a horrible spinal injury. That is why he had to miss the semi-final.
But still, 7-0 does not.
7-1.
7-1.
Oscar scored in the last
I'll give you that one, but still, that's not the caliber of Brazil.
But they also
Of
came
course.
up against a very good German side. So, and yes, like you said, I don't think Neymar playing that game would have made a massive difference. But
No, because 2 goal kar leta, make it 7-3 or 7 goals, like that was the defense.
I
not
think
the
it's
goal.
really interesting that you have Dani Alves coming back
Yes.
in the
Yeah.
Brazilian squad.
He's one of the
And then
oldest
it's-
players at the World Cup.
Yes, exactly.
And the experience from him would be good. They've got Thiago Silva at the back.
And they have my shout for Golden Glove, Alisson.
He's the best keeper in the world. But
By
I'm
far.
also a Liverpool
Yeah, but
fan. So
I would actually
Probably
agree to
not
that.
coming.
So your two calls from this group.
Brazil, and I would probably have to go Serbia.
Brazil and Serbia.
I would say Brazil and Switzerland.
Brazil and Switzerland, okay. So Cameroon बेचारों को बिल्कुल ही
वो एटो के कमेंट के बाद तो बचता भी नहीं
I
है
think
उसका.
it's difficult for them. They are trying. They don't have the same big names as they had before. And other than that, they clinched on a good AFCON third place finish. But from seeing how they performed throughout the qualifiers and everything, the group is too difficult for them. In an easier group, thoda chance hota, not now.
Moving to Group H, Portugal, Uruguay, Suarez and Ronaldo in the same group, Ghana and Korea Republic. So of
This
course,
is my pick for the most competitive group, to be honest. Yes, I feel like we have Portugal and Uruguay, who are two stunning teams, and Uruguay is just a force to be reckoned with in this tournament as well. You have Valverde, who has a
Yes.
incredible right foot, like probably the strongest shot in football right now. And then you have Nunez up top, you have Suarez up top. Yes, Suarez might be old, but you've seen what his experience has brought.
yeah,
to
as
the
long as he
Uruguay
does not
squad
bites, you know.
before. Those bites got them to the semi-final. So I wouldn't rule out the possibility of Uruguay going quite far in this competition, maybe towards the quarters at least. Portugal, again, incredible squad, incredible depth. But I do feel like Ghana and Korea, just because of Heung-min Son, love him, they can perform.
Second most dangerous man in Korea.
He has an eye socket injury. He's gonna wear a mask to play. So I'm not sure if that is.
That'll
gonna
turn him
impact
into Batman during the World Cup.
Korean Batman.
It didn't quite work out for Torres.
Yeah. So that is one doubt I have with him. But other than that, I think the group is.
Plus, they're very energetic, Uruguay. They're going to give every team they come up against a
And
very
Nunez
hard time.
being in good form right now as well.
Yes,
It's going to
he's
be
been
very
he's been
interesting.
playing well for Liverpool of late.
And Cristiano Ronaldo is gonna give his 100%.
He will, but how would you rate Portugal? Even apart from Cristiano Ronaldo, they've got some exciting players because this time around they've got a combination. As we were discussing Argentina, not as much as Argentina, but you can't just say that it's a one-man show with Ronaldo. Portugal is doing better. They won the Euros a few years back, and Ronaldo has a lot to prove as well.
Yes.
He has been tamed down, sidelined by Manchester United for a while. The last interview that he gave shows the fire. I think he's just, we're in for a storm with the Ronaldo show. So where do you see Portugal in this World Cup?
I think they have enough quality to do really well. Ronaldo is a big factor. What you just mentioned, I think he really has a lot to prove. The kind of individual he is, he will really want to set the world alight with what he does in this tournament. I could even see, because he has a lot of service this time around. He has Bruno Fernandes, who's going to be playing behind him. He has Bernardo Silva.
Diego Costa is the keeper.
Yeah, they have Rafael Leao as well, who's going to be in behind Ronaldo, who's been doing really well of late. So I could actually see Ronaldo scoring a lot of goals. And I mean, I hope he does. I personally want one of Messi or Ronaldo to win the World Cup. I think one of those.
We all want that.
Yeah, I think one of them should win it. Messi has the better chance in this tournament, but I really hope that Ronaldo can carry his team.
Especially this time around, Messi following the legacy of Maradona. So the only thing Messi does not have is the World Cup.
Yeah.
He has done it all except the World Cup. He had the chance few World Cups back, but couldn't make it then. But this time around, let's see. But we're not talking about Portugal's defense. They've got Pepe as well.
I mean, Pepe, one of those figures that just never cease to amaze you. I don't know how he's still here. I don't know how he's still playing, but he is. But I think it's important to mention Cancelo and the delivery that he's going to give to Cristiano Ronaldo, to João Felix, to Rafael Leao. It's going to be very pivotal to this Portugal side. And of course, Ruben Diaz, class centre-back. I think a bit overrated because of Manchester City, but I still think he's going to turn up in this World
And
Cup.
Portugal has always went with senior players. Although Figo was a striker, but he played till like near 40 around. So Pepe also aging
Ronaldo
player.
is 37, I think.
But
he doesn't look 37.
Ronaldo's 37 is 33. his
He
body-
probably
I think it's
he's
important to
27.
mention that this is Ronaldo's 5th appearance in the World Cup.
He scored 117.
And I won't be surprised, if he Portugal does not do well, he might be playing the next World Cup as well. You never
He
know.
did rule it out in the interview that he did with Piers Morgan. He said it's highly unlikely that he plays another World Cup, which is another motivating factor for him.
He did also say that if he somehow manages to win the World Cup, he will retire.
No, he didn't say that. He said if he manages to beat Messi in the final, he will retire.
Yeah. And then he'll retire from all forms of
Yes.
football, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's a long shot.
But that a great picture yesterday that came
Oh,
out
yes.
from the Louis Vuitton camera.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
indeed. Beautiful picture. So that's the groups. So I think we've covered enough. Now let's just talk about the game that's about to kick off in a few hours. It's the opening game, host Qatar versus Ecuador. So what are we hoping and expecting for?
No, go for it.
My pick is Qatar to win this game. Again, not
यहाँ भी
going on
dollar
the-
आ गया।
ऐसा लग रहा
not
है.
going on the
Go
dollar
ahead.
factor, but I really do want them to do well and hopefully somehow manage to qualify out of this group. Just because, like Taimur said before, host nation जब आगे जाएगा, जब group से निकलेगा, it's going to get the entire crowd together. It's going to get everyone a lot more motivated, and the stadium atmosphere will be a lot better, which will transfer over to what we see on screen right now as well.
No, but are there any firepower, some players? Because it's Qatar mostly is unknown to all of the people out there.
Well, their two best players are their strikers, their two forwards. Their names are Ali Al Muiz and Akram Afif. Akram Afif has played under Xavi at Al Sadd, and Xavi famously said about him that there are no limits for this guy. So that's high praise coming from a player like Xavi. And they have a Spanish manager, so they like to play a possession-based game, which is similar to what Xavi did for Al Sadd. I can see. I mean, like I said, I can see them scoring a few goals, but they don't really have anyone at the back.
I'll share another stat. In the past 50 years of World Cup history, no team has won a World Cup with a foreign coach or a manager. Yeah.
That's very interesting.
That's
Didn't know
surprising.
that. But I think the problem is I would really want Qatar to win. Like Taimur said earlier, you want the home team to go forward. Man, they've spent $300 billion. If you look at it, their population is 300,000, जो original Qatari हैं. And if you just do the metrics there, it's like $1 million per their own citizen. So they deserve some happiness. They deserve some victories. I would prefer, and I would love it if it's a 1-0 game, because that's what happened in the past. Apart from like the last World Cup game where Russia hammered Saudi Arabia with like a 5-0 win. If you look back, there is like about 5 of the 10 games have been like 1-0 in the past 10 World Cups. The openers in particular. So that's what I'm sensing. 1-0 for Qatar. Taimur mentioned, their talisman is really good. He has been spending a lot of time in Europe. He was in Villarreal from 2016 to 2020, but he had more loans and he played in Sporting Gijón and he played with Eupen, a Belgian club. So he got some good European experience there. He's a young kid, about 26 of his age. So good hope for Qatar, and I really do want them to win this, at least.
So any players to watch out for in Ecuador?
So you do have their left back who plays for Brighton, Estupiñán. He is probably going to be a key figure in this team. Whether just relying on him, or of course you can't just rely on your left back to win you the game, but can you get that defense together? Can you make sure that they can protect, like he said, Qatar strikers and forwards to stop them? I do not think so, no.
But Estupiñán is actually going to be very crucial for them because he's also on set pieces. Ecuador are very heavily reliant on set pieces. I have a few stats for you actually. They had 70 shots from set pieces in their qualifying stages, which was the most for any South American team. They had 8 set piece goals. They had an XG of 7.57, which is a lot, and 35% of their goals came from set pieces. So, having mentioned that Qatar don't have the best
Defense, I would say.
defense
And not the
the
tallest
best players to
defense
deal with
also,
those crosses coming in, I think a player like Estopinan could be crucial with his delivery, and generally also they want the wing backs to push forward, put crosses into the box. That's how they score a lot of their goals. They're a very boring team to watch. They don't want to score a lot of goals. So I'm seeing a dull game. I hope, because it's the first game, it's going to be an event. Almost, I hope they break the shackles and both teams come out and play. But
which is very rare to see in international football.
Yes.
That I feel like all international teams are very pragmatic with their approaches, and बिल्कुल ही मतलब सब defensive हो जाते हैं. Especially if you see France's World Cup run 2018, Didier Deschamps, I do not rate him as a manager. Yes, he might have won the World Cup, but I feel like with that France team, you should be going out there playing free football, showing everyone what you're about, but I don't feel like...
He played to the strengths, I would say, but...
but a lot of people also do say that France won despite him rather than because of him.
Yeah.
So
but I would honestly say that in terms of like a World Cup opener, one of my favorites was 2010 South Africa, Bafana, Shabalala cutting in, scoring a scream at the Bafana went nuts. It was a monumental goal, I think. It was 1-1 against Mexico, but that gave in the start that the tournament needs.
And
I really
if I'm not mistaken, that was the first African country to host World Cup.
Yes.
And now
And
we have
even
the first Middle Eastern
even
country.
the title track was...
yes, that World Cup had the best
Yeah,
song.
yeah.
That like couple and
By
the
the way,
best
do
ones.
you guys know that was a copy?
No, I don't know.
You guys
Wait,
need
you're
to
talking
catch
about
up.
Wave and Flag? Or?
No, the
Waka
Waka
Waka.
Waka.
The Waka Waka.
I'll share the original one with you guys. It was a song from the 80s, and when Shakira was asked that where did you got the lyrics and the inspirations of it, I was walking one day and just got the idea. And actually it's a song from the 80s, and I'll just share it with you guys off
मैं
it.
तो इस शो के लिए भी पंप होने के लिए सुबह वो सुन के आया हूँ.
वो कॉपी है, वो झूठ है. So let's see. So final predictions
For tonight?
For tonight.
I do want Qatar to win, but I am going to go with. Actually, I'll go last. I need time to think.
Okay, your call.
1-0 Qatar.
1-0 to Qatar. Okay, ji.
I'm going to say KG 1-0 to Qatar as well.
Okay, 1-0 to Qatar. Okay, your
Okay,
last.
then I'm going to continue the 1-0 wala 10, but I'll go Ecuador. And I think they might score of a set piece.
Okay, so let's see.
Now you're going to hold. What's your prediction
Yes.
for this? You have skipped two things. You didn't reveal the club you support, and you haven't given your prediction.
Well, I'm a
First
host.
club.
I'm a host. मैं neutral हूँ भाई. जो जीत रहा है मैं
जो
उसकी तरफ हूँ.
न्यूट्रल कहता है अपने आप को, वो न्यूट्रल होता ही नहीं. हम पाकिस्तान में रहते हैं.
नहीं, लेकिन मेरा यही सीन है. देखिए, मेरा तो मेजर स्पोर्ट क्रिकेट है. सारे हमारे स्पोर्ट्समैन वाले जानते हैं. बट मोर ओवर ये कि फुटबॉल में आई ऑलवेज सपोर्टेड टीम्स विद माई फेवरेट प्लेयर्स. So Beckham was my favorite player, so United first, then Real Madrid. But when he moved to LA Galaxy, तो फिर मेरे दूसरे favorite player बन गए. So these days,
तो current कौन है?
These days I like Liverpool.
ये तो 2-2 हो गया.
2-2 हो गया.
तो these days I like
तो हमारे
Liverpool.
सेट भी बैलेंस है चेल्सी वर्सेस लिवरपूल.
ठीक है, these days I like Liverpool. एक टाइम था United.
यूनाइटेड से लिवरपूल पे आ गया अभी
नहीं,
तो
तो भाई,
हैरत की बात
आप
है.
मान लेना मैं न्यूट्रल हूँ. अब तो मान लो मैं न्यूट्रल हूँ.
इसको न्यूट्रल नहीं, इसको लोटा कहते हैं.
लोटा कहते हैं, फुटबॉल की जबान में लोटा कहते हैं. But then again,
Okay, and what is your pick for...
I always support the underdogs, usually, even in any sport. I
that-
want them to
yeah,
win,
that's
so the
fun
sports win. You know, that's what I always back and support. If any team's 1-0 down, I want an equalizer. You know, I'm
ये
that sort.
अंडरडॉग
Yes.
वाली बात से पक्का साबित हो गया. भाई क्रिकेट फैन है, पाकिस्तान टीम
Yes.
अंडरडॉग ही जाती है तो कुछ होता है.
नहीं, पाकिस्तान तो छोड़ दें. पाकिस्तान के अलावा, you know, I always want the sport to win. और वो तभी होगा when these minor teams, you know, rise up to the occasion. The prediction for today is a draw.
Okay.
0-0, 1-1.
1-1.
You can't get away with that easily.
1-1 draw, I would say 1-1.
I am gonna note that down too.
Okay, 1-1 draw for me. So my prediction is different from all the three. So let's see क्या होता है. आप लोगों से मुलाकात होगी हमारी कल. We'll see you guys tomorrow with another episode of Football Today. But that would be tomorrow. You can always write in your comments and your predictions below. और हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलिएगा. आपसे मुलाकात होगी हमारी कल। देखते रहिए स्पोर्ट्स विंग एंड फुटबॉल टुडे। दिस इज योर होस्ट उमर खान साइनिंग ऑफ। सी यू टुमारो। कीप स्माइलिंग, स्टे सेफ।